Welcome to episode 349 of the Shared Security Podcast. And this week, we're going to talk about a vulnerability in Kia's web portal, which could allow remote controlled key connected car features, such as unlocking doors and tracking the vehicle's location. So I feel like Kia has had all sorts of security issues in the last year. So let's just add one more thing to the list. And I think this actually highlights some overall issues with web vulnerabilities with the or in the auto industry. So we'll have a nice chat about that. And then we have some news about NIST with their new updated password guidelines, in which they are now recommending eliminating complexity rules and periodic password resets. Hallelujah, right? A long time coming. And joining me this week for these stories is the illustrious and world famous co-host, Kevin Johnson.
Illustrious.
Hello.
I'm laughing, one, because of the way you described it, and two, because this is the first time I've noticed how empty behind me looks.
It is pretty
We
empty.
had the carpets cleaned this morning, and I haven't moved everything back in yet.
Well, the carpets look
Thanks.
nice. They look pretty clean.
So, and it hit me, it was like, man, it looks like
you need like a bookcase or like, lights.
something. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we're putting up artwork. I don't have it.
Oh, well, there you go.
We're going to put up so I went to InfoSec World 2 weeks ago, whatever.
Yeah.
And the night before we went into Epcot, and I bought a print of the Imagination Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's going to go behind me with some other stuff I've got.
Very cool.
But yeah, so these are some interesting stories. So the Kia one first, right?
Let's talk about that
over
one.
To one side.
I mean, we've talked about Kias in the past. I mean, they've been a popular vehicle to steal because of remember when they had the immobilizer problem where the older ones didn't have immobilizers to save on money?
Yep.
And thieves have found ways of basically, I think it was like sticking like a USB cord like between the headlights.
Something,
Like, I mean,
it was weird.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Huh. This one's interesting to me because it's done by the tag.
So these guys, this Sam Curry, I think is his name, is the researcher. And he had, I guess, found a way that you could take the vehicle's license plate number and essentially it would query a third-party API that basically can match the VIN to a license plate
number.
And
to be clear, that step's not necessary if you're close enough to the car to get the VIN. Right.
But
it's worse that you can just drive past somebody and do this.
Yeah, exactly. And they basically found an issue in essentially the app that you would use to remotely unlock your car. And, all these new cars have these features, right? The mobile app. And they found a way that essentially tricking the app, it was basically, I read through the write-up and it was through the API. They basically registered as a dealer.
Yep.
And once you become a dealer, they found out that the dealer has all kinds of access.
Right?
In fact, in some cases, maybe too much access. I don't know. That is debatable. But you could essentially unlock the car, find out the car's location, honk the horn, or start the ignition. So, what do you think about this?
It sucks.
It does suck. If you have a Kia, yeah.
Well, no, I would argue
bad.
It sucks if you have any car that is smart enough to connect. And here's why. And I want to be clear, this is not promoting secure ideas, but we do a lot of application testing. And we also run into a lot of cases where people just don't want the apps tested. And I'm not saying that's Kia, right?
Because they're afraid of what you're going to find.
I mean, or that's just not, they don't think it's a requirement, right? Because many of the compliance requirements are like, well, you have a network pen test and, I have a hard, crunchy outer shell and I'm good. I just had a conversation earlier today with somebody and he's like, well, we want to test our apps, but we don't know if we can afford it. And it's like, then you afford not to. But that's too much like fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So don't quote that one.
Yeah.
But I'm not beyond identity. But I don't I don't know if you saw my tweet this morning.
Yes.
Oh God. You can always tell when I tweet or when the marketing people tweet from my
Oh,
account.
I know exactly. It's you. I mean,
I, but
it's very clear.
so I like this is the type of stuff where organizations, and I've railed about this. Matter of fact, I just argued about this in at GrrCon when I was talking about Broker, the new tool I'm releasing, open source, free, not a sales pitch. But way too often, the people who are building apps or testing apps don't understand the actual business that they're building around or the risks the business has to deal with. Like, for example, the dealer. Like in my head, a dealer should have complete and utter control over a car that is in their possession. Right.
I mean, it's just they have a key.
Right. Like,
So,
yeah.
I
So
mean,
if I'm a dealer and I get a car that I'm selling, I should be able to do everything the owner of that car should do. And then I should lose that access the day that I sell the car.
yes.
Now,
Right.
then you have to figure out, and this is an app feature they would
Yeah.
have to build. And as far as I know, they don't.
Yeah.
This app doesn't have it.
Mhm.
Is that when I take my Kia in for service, I grant them valet access, right? Like, just like, and I'll
Yeah.
pick on my Tesla, right? I have the ability to give the valet access to my car, but all they have is valet access there. They can drive it for a short period of time to a maximum
Right.
speed, and then they can't, right? And
Yep.
these are the types of things that you have to think through the risks. And I guarantee you that the developer of this app thought, well, a dealer is a trusted third party. The dealer has to have access. And of course, it must be hard to become a dealer. Obviously, it's not. And, right.
No, just register as one.
I would
Yeah.
argue it's hard to become a dealer that has a physical location and they ship cars to you. Probably. I haven't tried.
Maybe. I don't know
I did say
anymore.
probably, right? But to me, this is absolutely a case of the developer didn't understand the business risks and the app wasn't tested, and I'll say sufficiently, right? And I know, right? Quite often as a pen tester, we are presented with apps and said, test this, and we don't have any access or scope outside of that app to understand the integrations and the third party tag to VIN lookup, things like that. That it's a failure in testing. It's a failure in risk understanding. It's a failure in business justification, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, and we're just going to see more and more of this as
absolutely.
more apps are being rolled out. And I hesitate to even say it that way because of the fact that everything's an app nowadays. And that's just getting worse. Until these things are solved for some level of solved before they're built, we're going to run into this type of issue.
Yeah. I think the other piece of this that was noted in the article and on the research, the release about this research, was how long it took Kia to address the issue. So I don't know if you caught that, but they had said they had, I think, partially fixed it or something like that. And then the 90 days had passed where, that's what most researchers kind of give as, hey,
it's been accepted
it's been accepted. Right. And they just went ahead and released the research, even though then they showed that Kia did fix it because they retested it and found that they couldn't do it anymore, which is good. But I think the auto industry, because of the complexities with connected cars and the technology that they're putting in these cars, I think it's going to become, and it has become, much harder to secure. And honestly, to your point, taking web security more seriously, because I'm just thinking of like the API infrastructure of these companies and how just complex that they are.
And how many of them are run by third parties or built by third parties and stuff like that. Should we laugh that off to the side on my screen, I can see my inbox for my work email. And there's literally an email from Kia right now about a sale. and I don't own a Kia. I don't know why I'm getting an ad for Kia.
Wow. It's because we're talking about it, and somehow
Yeah.
your phone is
Uh-huh.
probably picking it up like TikTok, Kevin.
No.
That's what's happening.
Oh,
Put your tinfoil hat on, folks. That's right.
aluminium.
Well, yes. Well, that's a good one. I love this kind of research, and actually the detailed walkthrough of the research. If you're technically minded, I thought it was actually a very good write up. They're actually showing the request responses and the whole walkthrough of how they did it, and the tool that they built was actually pretty slick. So
those are
kudos for those
I
guys.
like when they do, hey, I did this,
Same.
And here's how,
the right way,
and here's why, and here's how it worked. And too often we see, and I want to be clear, my understanding is Kia has a bug bounty program. So this was completely within the scope of that. Like this is, because I'm sure somebody's waiting for me to rant about security researchers. And in this case, my understanding is they did everything according to the VDP.
Yeah, it sounds like they did everything right. Yeah.
So, which is good.
So let's talk about NIST and the no more regular password resets and arbitrary complexity rules. Now, when I saw this come out about a week ago, the first thing I thought was, didn't they, like many years ago, didn't they already kind of say, like, they didn't recommend like the 90-day password reset?
This is an addition. This is a modification of that previous release. The thing that, and my understanding is what I'm about to say is correct. Please feel free to correct me. Everybody seems to keep missing the idea, and they did the last time NIST did this, that NIST qualifies this with, if you have MFA on.
Yeah.
Right? Like
that's a good point.
My Twitter account posted, meaning my marketing people, about this article. So I thought it was funny you added it to the list. And somebody replied with, wow, this is ridiculous, but why don't they say put an MFA on it? It's like, they do. The synopsis we posted didn't talk about MFA because I guess that's understood, but obviously it's not. Yeah, my understanding is NIST still says this is okay to do. No complexity, smaller passwords, shorter passwords, whatever, with the idea that MFA is turned on for the account. I believe that's still the qualification. Here's the thing. In my opinion, NIST is right and NIST is wrong. And I know that sounds stupid, but NIST is right that people are just doing stupid stuff with passwords anyways, right? Like, and we make it worse by giving them stupid requirements. I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago on the show. I am trying to get into better shape. I'm trying to lose weight and get healthy. And I moved out of the apartment, moved into a house, and the house doesn't have a gym like the apartment had. And so I went and signed up at, and I'll say LA Fitness. And while you're at LA Fitness, you're sitting there talking to a person who is obviously in better shape than I am. And they're convincing you to sign up and do all this kind of stuff. And halfway through the process, it's like, okay, download, install the app. Why? Well, because you have to create an account. Why? You can't just give me a card that I scan and
not anymore.
I need an app on my phone to scan into LA Fitness. I'm like, okay, I'm old. And I go in and I've said this a million times, right? I am a security conscious person. I think about security a little bit more than the average bear. And they had password complexity requirements. And I swear I was meeting them. Now, obviously I'm probably wrong, but
no, you weren't.
Right.
You thought,
and it just kept airing out. And I'm like, okay. And I'd try another thing and it would air out. They would try another thing and it would air out. And they would try another thing. And I'm doing it on my phone as this dude is staring at me like, look, moron, we have to go to the next step. Why can't you create an account? Don't you understand technology, old man? And,
you know who I am.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting frustrated. I tried like 6 or 7 times. I finally set up a password that is absolutely a horrific, weak password, but it passed. And then when I got home, I logged into the website and changed it. Right. But the complexity requirements frustrated me enough that I set up.
So you give up and put something easy. Yeah.
Yeah. The equivalent of password 123 exclamation mark with a capital P and that work. Right. And no, that was not the password, to be clear, but it was pretty damn close.
It was
And
Muppets 1, 2, 3,
I'm
4.
sorry. It
Muppets
was
1, 2, 3,
Muppets
4.
1, 2, 3, 4 commenting on my shirt. Hermit
Yes.
exercises 1, 2, 3.
Ah,
Yeah. So that's what they're trying to fix. And what research has shown is that people use weak passwords. Not only do they use weak passwords, but they use weak passwords that change in a predictable fashion as we make people change it. So it's winter 123 or winter 2024, or spring 2025. Like, these are patterns that if I crack your password from 6 passwords ago, I still know what your password is today because I can follow the pattern, right? And so, due to the nature of attacks, due to the nature of password cracking, NIST is saying we're making it easier for attackers. And bluntly, they're right. In my opinion, though, where I say NIST is wrong is we're approaching the wrong thing. We're trying to fix passwords for people. And what we should be doing is pushing the idea of behavioral analysis in your applications, behavioral analysis in your network, understanding where people are coming from. Let's stop making it the requirement of the user to secure the system, and let's make it the requirement of the organization who has to protect the data, right? We continue to blame users. We continue to blame developers. And frankly, it's pissing me off.
well, I also think it's the evolution of hopefully one day passwords go away, right? Like
Yeah.
taking the user out of the equation as much as possible, I think is where we've seen positive change. I think in
Yeah.
passkeys as an
Yes.
example, biometrics, all of those things, right? Let's create very secure authentication systems and making it easier for the user. I agree with you. There is too much, oh, that's the user's fault for
Yeah.
doing this, and or they're blaming them for the lack of security that they've implemented. But I think it's good. I think that's a long time coming. It's the government. And this took I mean, how many years? They talked about this in like
Yes.
2019, 2017, I think, from what I saw in the article. Like,
1993.
yeah, yeah. And it's like now it's 2024, and now you're just updating this again. And
Yeah.
this is all things that we've known for years, but it does go to show that the government's a little bit behind. Oh,
Well,
well.
and not to give them an excuse, right? But they have to be, because when they push a requirement like this, right, there are laws tied to that
That is true.
standard,
Yeah, that's a good point.
right?
That's a good point.
And so if they
Yeah.
just every 6 months go, well, Tom and Kevin said it should be this way, which I think
Please
they
don't
should.
listen to us.
Hey, NIST,
Well,
if you
maybe,
want,
but
Tom and I will
yeah.
take over updating these things for you.
Oh,
But
God, no.
yeah.
I'm not working for the government anymore, man. No way.
No, I didn't say we should work for them. I just said we would take over responsibility.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh,
yeah, Tom and
gotcha.
Kevin said, yeah, it'd be a new, it would be
Yeah.
the other weekly podcast we do, Tom and Kevin say. And that would be how we deliver NIST guidance, is the way weekly podcast where you and I just rambly come up with it.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Great
but the
idea.
reality is that because the laws are tied to it, because things like SEC filings and FTC cases and whatever are tied to how well somebody matches these, the government can't change it willy-nilly. I would like to believe they could change it a little bit faster than they are, but
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the balancing act. And I believe they balance too far to the cautionary. But then again, I have no skin in the game, right? I'm not the one that's
Right.
in trouble if they update it too fast or too slow.
Well, good stuff. Great topics this week. No Scott this
I
week,
enjoy 'em.
obviously, you have noticed, but
Yeah, he's
couldn't
been
make it this
very,
week,
very
but-
quiet.
Yes, or he's just very quiet and not saying anything. But no, he'll be back next week. Actually, next week is a big episode. It's episode 350. So yeah, Kevin will wear a different shirt. Maybe we'll see.
No. Well, I'll be in Vegas next week for IC Squared Security Congress, so I'll have to get.
Oh,
up
so
to
you
my
won't even
hotel
be
room.
on the show.
No,
even though I
I'll try
booked
to be
you.
on it,
Okay.
depending on when you book me. I'll because I just
to look
run
at your
upstairs to
calendar.
the room. Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
I'm so busy.
Okay,
I'm so
Yeah.
important. That's what it is.
that's what it is. Yes. All right. Well, hopefully we will see you next week for 350. But have a safe trip, either
Thank you.
way. And for everyone else, thank you for listening. And until next time, stay safe, stay secure, and stay private. Thanks for watching or listening to this episode. Be sure to subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts, follow us on X at SharedSec, and help support the podcast by joining our Patreon to get ad-free episodes, bonus content, and many more exclusive supporter-only benefits. Visit sharedsecurity.net/supporter for more details.